Hello everybody, welcome to the class. This is the final lesson of this current course on chess for beginners. This is a course which is meant for especially the students who have started chess, and in the final lesson we are going to see a very exciting game of chess. And I hope after completing the course all of you will be able to play such exciting chess. Well, this game was played by a player by the name of Edward Lasker. He was originally a German who was settled in the US, and he was playing against a British player, a well-known player. His name is George Thomas. And the theme of today's lesson is King Hunt, which means one player hunted the opponent's king and finally checkmated the king. So let us see how we can also hunt our opponent's king. What helped white to hunt opponent's king and win? Okay, the game started with white Edward Lasker playing d4. Well, since this is the final lesson, we shall also be recalling what we have learnt in the past. Whenever we start our game in the opening phase, we have to develop our pieces very quickly, as well as we have to control the center so that the opponent's pieces cannot come to the central squares. Okay, controlling the center with our pawns. Now that's what the move d4 did, and black played e6, preparing. Well, the move d4 basically controlled all this with red, and now the move e6 played by black basically opens this diagonal for the queen and also this diagonal for the bishop. So both the sides are getting ready to bring out their pieces quickly. Now white could have played e4 controlling the center, but he opted to develop his knight instead. He played knight f3, and black played f5, preventing white from playing e4. Now this pawn move looks useless, but no, it controls the center. And white played knight c3, bringing out his knight so that he can once again play e4, and after black takes the pawn, white will recapture with his knight and the knight will sit in the center. Now what black did, he also brought out his knight in such a manner that he is reinforcing his pressure upon e4. White cannot play e4 because black will capture the pawn. Now here white developed his queen's bishop. He played bishop to g5, pinning the knight. The knight can't move because the bishop would then capture the queen. Now just see how white in every move brings out a fresh piece into play. Now black developed, he brought out his bishop. He played bishop e7 so that the knight is unpinned. Now black can move his knight once again. The bishop will not be able to capture the queen. So bishop e7 is a very nice developing move. White exchanged the bishop for a knight. The reason is now he wants to play e4. He puts his pawns in the center so that black's pieces cannot approach the center. Now we have seen how the central pawns can be dangerous at times. So black decided to remove one of the pawns, and white was happy to have his knight on e4. Now black played b6. His idea is to bring out his bishop from b7 and control the center and also this long diagonal. Now we have learned that we must always develop our pieces in such a manner that we are controlling the center. The pieces are in center, they can control more squares in all directions. But even though black's bishop will be far away, it will be controlling or attacking white's center. White played knight e5, another instructive move. We have it already seen in the initial lessons on opening that this diagonal can sometimes be very dangerous at the start of the game. So if white can play queen h5 and then with the support of the knight land on f7, it will be game over. So what did black do? He decided to castle. The king is happy, it is safe, and the rook is happy because the rook has an open file to play. Now white played bishop to d3. He brought out his bishop and black also developed his bishop. Now white went for attack. He played queen h5 with an indirect attack upon the pawn on h7. Let's assume that black ignores white's idea and goes for a move like d6. What would white do? White wants to play queen h7. But to play queen h7, he must first clear the diagonal of the bishop, isn't it? So what he will do is he'll first play this, clearing the diagonal, followed by queen h7 checkmate. So that was white's idea. He's threatening checkmate. And black played queen e7, a very nice defense, because if white captures the bishop for the same idea, black will recapture with his pawn, and suddenly the queen is defending this pawn. For example, if white takes, black's queen will capture the queen and black is happy. So by playing queen e7, black is anticipating white will take this and black will retake with the pawn on g7 to f6. Now it's white to play. He played a fantastic sequence of moves from here. I would suggest all of you pause the video, take your own time. If you wish, you may think for hours from this situation, but try to find a way how white won the game forcibly from this situation. Well, white played a fantastic move. That is, he sacrificed his whole queen by capturing the pawn. Did he forget to open the diagonal? Because black can now freely take back. No, white played this deliberately. Now the king is forced to capture. The king has no other squares to go. Then white played a move which we have seen in the past. It's called double check. Check with the knight, check with the bishop. Black cannot capture the knight because the bishop also checks the king. Where would the king go? Can the king escape to h8? Not really, because white will play knight g6 check, and both these knights are partnering to trap the king in the corner. The king has no squares because this knight is controlling. So where would the king go? The king would come up instead. King h6. White plays knight e to g4 check. Now again the king has to go somewhere. Where would the king go? The king can't go here because these two squares are controlled by the bishop. The king can't come here because the knight on f6 controls this. The only square left for the king is to go to g5. Now white played another nice move, h4 check. Again, where would the king retreat? The king can't capture h4 because of the rook. The king can't capture g4 because of the knight on f6. King can't capture the f6 knight because of this knight. King cannot go back because of this knight. And the king cannot stay on these two squares either because of the bishop. The king is bound to go to f4, and then white drags the king up. g3 check. The king cannot go back. The king has to come. This is the only square. Again white plays bishop e2 check. All the squares marked in red, highlighted in red, cannot be, they are controlled by white's pieces. So the king is bound to come here. Look at the way how white drags the king from g8 to g2, and then he plays rook h2 check. Again all the squares are controlled by white, so black's king has to come to g1. From g8 the king has been hunted or dragged to g1 square inside white's camp, and now white quietly moves his king and checks with the last piece This was the only rook which was not attacking. The rest of the pieces had performed their duty of bringing the king. So now the last piece, which was not functioning, gives a check and delivers checkmate. White could also have played long castle and checked the king. The king can't go anywhere. It's checkmate. So this is how Edward Lasker defeated George Thomas, and we have seen a typical game of chess where the king is dragged in consecutive moves all the way from g8 to g1 only to get checkmated. So you can also play beautiful games like this only if you follow the guidelines which have been taught to you in the previous videos. I hope you will have a very nice chess life in future. Even if you don't manage to become champions, by thinking in a positive and grammatical manner, in a structured manner, you can always be good and successful in any areas of your life. So that ends our course. We shall be bringing fresh new course for more advanced students in future. Till then, keep practicing and be a good chess player. Goodbye.